Good afternoon. Welcome to our Institute of Global Professional free webinar. Thank you all for joining and stay with us till the end. My lovely audience, today I am your host for the afternoon. My name is Bathum Dash. I am from Bangladesh. Dear audience, I am proud to be a associate of IGP as a global member. I feel honored and privileged to host this webinar. It's my delight to welcome you all to our Institute of Global Professional Free Webinar. Thank you all for joining us today in this marvelous afternoon. And it's my humble request and pleasure to all of you to stay with us till the end. Institute of Global Professionals serves a student community resource providing holistic social work and education for create a competent generations. IGP is a leading on online skill development institute with thousands of learners worldwide. Institute of Global Professional is an educational institute provide social work with globally recognized. We organized our webinar training offline online courses by best and trained speakers, coaches from all over the world. Our mission is to empower people. We have already successfully completed 1081 webinars. Let's introduce with our speaker. Hello, sir.
Hello, good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are audible. Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to the globe. I am doing great, although it's a bit rainy outside, but well, the show must go on, so let's do this. I'm excited.
Yes, sir. Sir, please describe yourself. Then you can present your presentation.
All right, so again, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon or good evening to the rest of the world. I am Dr. Algene Mate de Guzman, and primarily I work as a faculty member of the College of Arts and Letters from the Polytechnic University of the Philippines. And today I will be discussing how to write an annotated bibliography. Hence, allow me to please share my screen. There you go. All right. So I have decided to. Is my screen visible to everyone now? Right. So that being said, no, I have decided to discuss this very topic because apparently I have noticed that not so many are actually doing annotated bibliographies prior to doing research. All right. So, my point of discussion here, ladies and gentlemen, is for everyone to get to know how to write annotated bibliographies in relation to or as a primer or a springboard to doing research. All right. Uh, I would like to speak more particularly based on my experience here in the Philippines that not so many would, in fact, encourage or uh, tell their students no, that there is a need for these students, no, these soon to be researchers, to actually write annotated bibliographies first before or conduct writing annotated bibliographies first before they can even proceed to the research proper. No, so that being said, allow me to present my topic for today. So what is bibliography? Okay. So it's annotated bibliography. The bibliography part would basically be talking about a list of books, a list of sources on a particular subject area or a particular topic, no, a list of sources that you would want to utilize when you are to write an academic or research paper. So that's what a bibliography would be. Now, moving forward, we also have the word annotation, right? Because this is annotated bibliography. So the second word, annotation, is summary, explanation, uh, commentary, evaluation, criticism, and reflection. So this means to say, ladies and gentlemen, an annotation is in fact a group of sentences, no, a group of clear-cut, well-thought-of sentences, or even multiple paragraphs that would present a summary, an explanation, no, a commentary, evaluation, criticism, and reflection of that particular source that you are reading or that you have read. No? Now, this is very much useful, ladies and gentlemen, if you are to conduct or write an academic paper, an academic essay, or even, no, a research paper. So you can use this for your journal articles, for your book chapters, no? Especially if you are already a professional, and other credible references. So what is it about? Why is it important for you to get to know your topic first? And who is the author would primarily be the questions that you would want to consider when you are choosing the particular source that you would want to annotate. All right. So this means to say, ladies and gentlemen, that when you are to do or to perform a research work primarily, or an academic paper that would necessitate sources before you could even proceed, no, it is indeed a necessity for you to perform writing annotated bibliographies. No, I would have to say that sadly, many, if not all, would try to jump from or escape from this process of doing annotated bibliography because they think they can actually proceed with doing research or writing academic papers without uh, enough prior knowledge or without uh, sources to back them up eventually as they go about writing their academic paper. No? So let us proceed now to getting to know what actually annotated bibliography would mean. Okay? So there you go. An annotated bibliography, my dear viewers, would be a list of citation of books, articles, and other documents. Now, each citation is in fact followed by a brief, descriptive, and evaluative paragraph. No? And this is known as the annotation. So, when we do readings of sources, okay, we try to evaluate and describe uh, such a material. Hence, we would want to do or we would need to proceed to doing annotation. Now, this is a combination of the bibliographic reference with the annotation itself, no? Which of course will help organize research, references, and ideas that you would probably gain as you go about reading your sources or your materials, no, even before proceeding to writing your own paper. Okay? Now, this commentary might actually be, or might in fact provide a summary of what the source is all about. All right? Because, especially if you are into research, no? Because you are required to read tons and tons of sources, no, varieties of sources, in fact, from journal articles to uh, professorial lecture notes, no, to probably news headlines and all those, no. uh, This would allow you to relate whatever it is that you have found and that you would want to use as a source to your specific topic. Okay? So, this is now showing us why annotated bibliography is in fact very, very important. Okay? Now, as to which part are particularly relevant in, say, an entire research journal or research article, no, to know what part is essential to whatever it is that you would want to write about, no, will help you, okay, determine whether or not you really are providing your soon to be paper or soon to be research work focus. Okay? You would need to know why the author is believable. You would need to know whether or not you agree with the information being presented with the sources that you have. So, ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about annotated bibliography or writing annotated bibliography, we are not just simply writing a summary and that's it. No, it is not. All right? When we are writing annotated bibliography, we need to be very clear with the purpose of doing so. Okay? Having said that, what now is the actual purpose of an annotated bibliography? No? Again, let me go back to the story behind my choosing this topic. No, I actually utilize this lecture, no, to my research students primarily because I would want to encourage them to not go straight to writing the research paper because I am certain that they actually do not have a clear mindset, no, of what they would want to write about. Correct? And in so many times I have encountered, specifically during thesis defenses, no, of students, particularly in the tertiary level or even in the senior high school level, no, every time I am being invited as one of the panels for the defense, okay, unfortunately, one of the many weaknesses that I tend to unearth during the actual defense is that the researchers do not, in fact, have a very clear uh, idea of what it is that they are writing about, particularly because they began their research subject or course by one either writing the statement of the problem immediately or developing a title immediately, whichever is the preferred action of their supposed research teacher. Now, unfortunately, that to me is a very difficult task, especially if you do not have a wide variety of knowledge about a particular topic. No? And this is why we would want to clearly identify the purpose of our annotated bibliography. No? So, the purpose of an annotated bibliography, ladies and gentlemen, is to help you or our learners or our soon to be researchers or our students, no, to keep a running log of the research that you or them would have done and be able to quickly look back in its contents and their usefulness. Okay, so that being said, uh, it allows us, no, creators of annotated bibliographies, to be informed, okay, of the particular relevance of a particular source, all right, and the quality of this source that we would be citing in our academic paper, be it an essay or a full research paper. All right. Mind you, not like again, no, going back to my setting here in the Philippines, not so many are really into getting to know whether or not their sources are of high quality. No? They do not even mind whether or not their sources, particularly sources that would come from journal articles, would actually come from predatory journal articles. All right. This is why we need to, if you are a teacher or if you are a senior researcher, this now would be your uh, pre-research lecture, no, an encouragement for your learners, for your students, for your soon-to-be researchers to actually get to know first or have at least a holistic idea of the topic that they would want to research on or write about. Okay? So it informs us of the relevance of the journal article or the source, the level of accuracy of the information that is provided by that particular source, the quality again, or the quality of the source, particularly looking at where such article, or where the article was published. Okay, is it a Web of Science site, index cited material, or a Scopus indexed uh, material? No? We would need to really know that because we would want to, at the end of the day, produce quality research or quality academic papers. Okay? And as Cornell University would put it, an annotated bibliography also would definitely provide a starting point when researching a topic that, of course, our learners would want to discover and try to devote themselves into. No, so as our learners try to look for information, as we, no, as researchers or as academic writers try to look for information, we need to make a list of the sources that we find, and then we tend to evaluate, describe and evaluate each of these sources. No, of course you may want to, well, print out these materials, particularly if these materials are coming from internet sources, no, and then try to, well, highlight probably, no, information that you would find very interesting or very relative, no, to whatever it is that you would want to write about. Okay, now for annotated bibliography, you should first begin exploring in search of sources for annotated bibliography or your paper. Now, what do we mean by this? No, you should begin collecting sources and taking notes. So, if you are a research teacher, no, and regardless whether it's qualitative or quantitative, right? If you are a research teacher, no, or a research advisor, what you would want to what you would want your learner or your student to do is to first and foremost explore. Okay, explore the variety of sources that may be relative to the topic they have in mind. Okay, so we should tell them, no, or what we should do if we are to create an annotated bibliography is to begin collecting sources. And once we're done collecting sources, we take notes of what's important in those sources that we have chosen. Okay. After which you will need to find, no, we will need to find the number of sources, um, say you as a teacher would identify for your annotated or for the annotated bibliography of your learner. So this means to say, ladies and gentlemen, that if, for example, I am the teacher and I actually would want my students to, or I have a class for research and I am to begin instructing my students to do research, I would prompt them to first and foremost collect sources. No? Now, as a practice, I would always say they collect at least 10, okay, sources per topic or theme that they strongly believe are related to the umbrella topic or the general topic that they have in mind. Okay, and as you go about searching, no, for sources, you write them down already. You make a list of everything that you come across and everything that you include, no, to your list of sources. Okay. Unfortunately, I do not have my notes here now. I'd like to really show it to you that even I do practice this. No? I really write down or list down the sources first, no, that I come across with, particularly uh, arranging them according to, say, theme or topic. All right. So next. So again, begin collecting the sources, begin to take down notes. Okay. And as I have made mention, provide how many, especially if you are a teacher of research, no, give an exact amount of sources that you would want your learners or students to find, no, that would be relative to the general topic that they have in mind. Okay. Now, for the summary, no, as I practice, I would tell my students to write at least 4 to 7 complete sentences. And if you are into research, you might want to do this too, no? For you to be able to summarize the research article that you have come across with, you may want to write a 4 to 7 complete sentences that would accomplish all or most of the following. First, provide the background and the credibility of the author. Remember, the author's credibility has weight. No, it should not be questionable. Okay? So, if you have the capability to really get to know who this author is, you might as well browse the internet and get to know who this author is. Okay? Then, state the main focus or the purpose of the work that you are, or the source that you are reading. No? You'd have to identify with the tons and tons of sentences that you would come across, okay, in a particular article or journal or write up, no? You'd have to know what is the main focus or what is the main purpose of that particular written work. All right? And then try to briefly describe what's in that particular uh, article. So you describe the contents of the articles. Okay. And finally, you indicate the possible audience for this type of work. Say, for example, uh, you 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 would want to write a research on, say, for example, poverty porn, no? and your main target would be people who are so much engaged into watching and subscribing to vloggers and uh, journalists who tend to how would I call it, romanticize poverty. Then you would need to know where you could tap them, perhaps. So this is uh, this is a challenge now that you would need to know who your possible audience would be for the particular academic paper. Now, be it an essay or a research or a complete research work. It is always a must that you identify who your audience would be, who your possible audience would be, so that the entirety of your writing would be leaning towards providing your possible audience with the more than enough knowledge uh, that your paper or that your writing can share to them. Okay. Next, the evaluation. So once you're done with uh, once you're done with the summary, no, you would now want to do evaluation. Oh, by the way, before I forget, let me just go back to that slide right there. No? When we write the summary, we would want to ask. Okay, these are prompter questions, no, that you would want to ask yourselves when you are writing the summary first. Now, try asking what the source is all about. Okay, try getting to know what it's actually trying to share. What is it trying to discuss? Okay, so what is the source about? That's number one. Number two, what are the main arguments that the author of that particular source is trying to impress or trying to create, or trying to raise? You would need to know the argument because that might prompt, if it's a research work that you would be doing on, that might just simply prompt, a soon to be statement of the problem. Okay, what else? Okay, what is the point of the article, or what is the point of the of that book chapter or that particular reference? Now, what is the point of the discussion? Okay, you need to identify that. That's why, as I have made mention earlier, no, you have to state the main focus and the purpose of the work. No? So you need to identify what's this source trying to point out. Okay, what else? What subtopics are being presented by that particular material or source that you are annotating? Okay, so what topics are being covered? Okay, because it might be that you will find much interest in, say, particular topics or particular subtopics from a general topic that you have encountered in a given source. Okay. So that being said, no, say someone asks what this article or book is about, what would you say? Okay. What would you say? Huh? That means you already are able to grasp, you are able to comprehend that particular source. No? So if someone would ask you about this particular research article, for example, what would you say? Okay. You have to make sure that you are able to explain the source in your own words. Because only by being able to explain it in your own words, that you actually are able to discern that you understood the written work completely. Okay? What else? Yeah, I have to also make mention, no, that summary actually would allow uh, researchers and other academic writers to think about the source, to contemplate about whether or not this source right here is in fact beneficial for me as the academic writer or for me as the researcher. Okay? And again, unfortunately, I have encountered so many research works that would include research articles, journal articles, write ups, academic write ups that are not really relative to whatever it is that my student or that thesis writer is trying to convey with with their paper. Okay, so uh, it needs to be that you are able to actually summarize in your own words whatever it is that you have written. And mind you, no, mind you, uh, this is in fact a challenging task. Okay, this is in fact a very challenging task. It is never easy to summarize, say, for example, a 20-page article or even like a 5-page article from a journal. Is not that easy to summarize, no? But you need to start doing it. No? We would need to reinvent ourselves, especially if we are again, if we are teachers of research, no? We would need to go back to the basics. And this is the most basic of them all, writing annotated bibliographies. So when you do begin your summary, you can start with sentences like the main idea of this article is that, then you present the main idea. Or say, the specific topics covered in this book chapter of, say, Freud would be A, B, C, D, E. No? Or you may want to also begin your summary with a sentence like, the author's points of discussion in this research article is, and then you present the point of argument or the point of discussion. This is how we try to uh, start or begin our summary. Okay? So that would be for the summary part of the annotated bibliography. Okay. Now again, moving forward, the evaluation. So once you're done with summarizing the source that you have chosen, it's time for you now to write an evaluation about it. Okay. Again, this is a 4 to 7 complete sentences that would accomplish all, if not most, of the following. First, describe any special features of the work that were unique or helpful. No? And that's according to that's basically the aims and the research methods. Okay. What else? We try to point out any defect, weakness, or suspected biases. Okay? So this might be the fallacies being presented or the limitations of that particular research study. Okay? Also, we would want to mention important conclusions, no, or observations that were reached by the particular author who has, of course, written the article. Okay, and finally, no, we want to evaluate the usefulness, the relevance of that particular source to your academic paper, to the topic of your academic paper, or to the topic of your research paper. It always needs to be that you are able to find usefulness and relevance. Otherwise, you would need to let go of that particular source. No? And again, no, you might have encountered, as a teacher, you might have encountered this with your students, that just simply because they find, say, a keyword or two in a particular research article, they tend to now put that research article into their into their chapter two, no, related or yeah, related studies, no, or related literature. But unfortunately, once you get to know what that particular related study or related reference is, you will find and not be so surprised that it is not actually related. It just so happened that it utilized a keyword or two that may have brought that writer into thinking this should be a part of my research work as as a part of my related lit. Well, we will all have to be honest here. Huh? Not everyone is into reading everything. I mean, I have I have encountered co-panel members who might have just scanned the document and may not have actually thoroughly checked the RRLs, the related studies and the related literatures. No, and so once I go about discussing this part of the study to them, no, everybody would tend to be surprised, unfortunately. No? So to avoid this situation from again ever happening to us or to our students, let us allow them to write their annotated bibliographies first before writing their actual research work, before beginning chapter one, even. Okay? So, again, the last part, you evaluate the usefulness and the relevance of that particular source to the academic paper that you would be writing or to that research work that you would be delving into. Okay? Uh, with that in mind now, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to say that it is always helpful, no? It is always helpful to actually evaluate what is supposed to be useful as a source. All right? What would this particular source mean to my paperwork? Because after reading, if you find that there is actually no relevance and that it is not actually useful, no, did I just cut myself off the internet? Then please let that be a learning already. No? What else? Apart from asking yourself what would the source mean to your paper, you would also want to know how does this source be relative to the rest of the sources I have in my now listed number of sources. No? So now you are moving forward to trying to imagine how you would synthesize, compare, and contrast the sources that you actually have encountered. and included in your research work. Okay. What else? Is it credible? Again, uh, we will have to question credibility in the sources that we find, particularly over the internet, particularly because there is now a preponderance of unfortunately what we call predatory journals, no? That we would need to be vigilant, no? We have to be academically uh, inclined to correcting even ourselves, no, from considering this these sources, no. We'll have to ask, what is the credibility of the journal, what is the credibility of the author. Okay, is the information relevant in terms of the topic discussed, and relevance in terms of uh, the timing that it presents, no? Is it still usable up to this date, or up to the date that you are actually writing your paper? Also, you would want to ask, no? Do dare ask, is this a biased source, or is this one presenting a highly objective uh, material? Okay. What else? We'll have to know what is the goal, what is the objective of the source, no? And try to figure out whether or not this goal, this objective of the source, is aligned with the goal or the objective that you have set upon yourself as a writer utilizing this source. Okay? And finally, you would want to also ask, does this fit in with the rest of the collections that I already have? Does this fit in? Okay? And finally, what you would want, no, after summarizing and evaluating, finally, you would need to come to terms with the most important part, no? And what is the most important part? The reflection. Okay? The reflection. And you write 4 to 7 sentences again that would accomplish all or most of the following. Okay? Again, no? You reflect on the usefulness of the source. Okay? You have to ascertain the degree of usefulness of the source. Okay? So, usefulness in terms of uh, your topic. Okay? Because once you've summarized and evaluated the source, you need to ask how it fits the entire paper, the entire academic paper, or the entire research paper. Your sources, the sources that you have collected, no, that you have included in your annotated bibliographies. Mind you, if this is a research paper, no, with chapters 1 to 5, for example, all these can actually be utilized as part of your related literature, your RRL, no? The review of related literature. With that being said, no, if you do not find usefulness and relevance of that particular source into your research topic, for example, I don't see any reason why you should include that as part of your RRL. Okay? So as a teacher now, we would need to be uh, critical, no? We would need to be very critical with with our students, no, particularly in the selections that they have included in their annotated bibliographies. Okay, I mean, if all of us here now watching and participating in this webinar are into research writing or into academic paper writing, no, we would have to we would have to really review, no, the list of or the list of sources included in the annotated bibliographies of our students. Okay, and we would need to really read the reflections provided by these students, because only it is only in the reflection that we now are able, or that we are now able to ascertain whether or not the student actually understood what was written in the article. Okay, so we'd have to think about what the source means to us as writers and to our paper, be it again an academic essay paper, a research topic paper, or a full-blown research paper. Regardless of what we would be writing about, no, we would always need to consider whether or not such source is useful and relevant. Okay? And to further that discussion, ladies and gentlemen, no, to further that, uh, allow me to present some guide questions, if you may. No? One, you can ask, was the source useful to you and to the paper? Was it useful to you and to the paper? Did it actually expand your understanding of the topic that you would want to write about or that you are assigned to write about? Did it actually provide you with a new perspective, a fresher perspective, or even an alternative perspective? Is that it? Okay. Next, how can you use the source in your paper? No? How can you utilize it in your paper? Can you actually use it in as part of your introduction, or should it be written as part of your RRL? What are the main points of your source? Again, you would need to identify what are actually being discussed in that source that you are doing an annotated bibliography for. Okay? Are the arguments and the evidence provided in the source weak or strong? And this, again, ladies and gentlemen, no, this actually would now uh, gives us a hint whether or not, say it is a submitted annotated bibliography, no, whether or not our student actually have fully read and understood the source. Okay, we would need to determine, is it a strong source or a weak source? Does it provide supporting data, regardless again whether it's a qualitative, a quantitative, or even a mix or a triangulated study? Regardless, that does it support or does it provide supporting data? Also, does it suggest solutions, improvements? Does it recommend apart from providing conclusions? Okay, and how would you be able to start with your start your reflection part of the annotated bibliography, no? How would you be able to begin that? Well, you may want to say the article supports my idea because it presented A, B, C, and D as points of arguments. Or you may want to start it with, say, the sentence or the phrase, this article was helpful to me because it allowed me to determine the probable causes of whatever topic it is that you are trying to lean on or lean towards rather. Or you may also want to begin by saying this article actually added knowledge and provided me new perspectives about this particular topic. One of them would be then you try to rationalize. All right? So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to share now a sample of the annotation I found over the internet. So it is read as Jim Rasenberger, an author and journalist for the New York Times, asserts that the events as described by Gangsberg in 38 Who Saw Murder could not have happened the way Gangsberg described them. Rasenberg states that although 38 people may have heard or seen the initial attack, Genovese was attacked 3 times. The most serious attack occurred in the back foyer of her apartment building and could have been witnessed by 5 or 6 people at the most. He concludes his article by saying that if Gangsberg's account had been accurate, countless articles and books would never have been written about the incident, and Americans' apathy would not have been studied as thoroughly. He seems pleased that the initial and most famous account was flawed. Rasenberg's article is interesting, but contains few facts and little research to support his assertions. This article is helpful as a starting point for a critical view of Gangsberg's article. With this example right here, please do allow me to uh, show you where the parts that I already have made mention earlier can actually be found. No? The background and credibility of the author, the possible audience, the main idea, the content, and the usefulness or relevance to the topic or research at hand. Okay. So on the next slide, you will see the same paragraphs color coded by this specific criteria right here. All right. For background and credibility, okay, you can see there that the red uh, text fonts would be Jim Rasenberger, an author and a journalist for the New York Times. So that creates a background of who the author is, no? And how credible is this author. He's a journalist from the New York Times. And we may all know what New York Times is and for what it stands and how credible this is, no? as uh, as a provider of news. Okay, asserts that what is the main idea? Asserts that the events as described by Gangsberg in 38 Who Saw Murder could not have happened the way Gangsberg described them. So this is the main idea. Okay, in this sentence right here, this is now the main idea. This is how the main idea was presented. Now, Ransberg assumes his audience is familiar with Gangsberg's famous and widely published article. So, who is this article's or annotated bibliography's possible audience? This would be those who are familiar with Gangsberg's famous, widely published article. Okay. So what are the contents now of this paper? No? Rosenberg states that although 38 people may have heard or seen the initial attack, no, Genovese was attacked 3 times. The most serious attack occurred in the back foyer of her apartment building and could have been witnessed by 5 or 6 people at the most. So here now is the actual content probably lifted from that of Gangsberg 38 who saw murder. Okay. In addition, no, another part of the content would be the provision of the conclusion of uh, Rosenberg's Rosenberger's article. No, he concludes, as mentioned here, his article by saying that if Gansberg's account had been accurate, countless articles and books would never have been written about the incident, and Americans' apathy would not have been studied as thoroughly. So those would now be the entire content included in this annotation. Okay. He seemed pleased that the initial and most famous account was flawed. Again, this is, of course, part of the main idea. It is actually a reiteration of the main idea. What was his main idea again? It could not have happened the way Gangsberg described them. Okay. So, what is the usefulness of this particular uh, article now? Okay. According to this annotation, Rasenberger's article is interesting but contains few facts. So it was already checked, no, by whoever wrote this. Okay. The facts were checked. Backup research was checked, and there were little research to support his assertions. Okay. Usefulness: the article is helpful as a starting point for a critical view of Gansberg's account of events. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is how we actually write an annotated bibliography. Allow me to present two completed examples of annotated bibliographies. One is from Birdless G 2013, The Impact of Population Aging and Delayed Retirement on Workforce Productivity, Center for Retirement Research. Okay. So I began with saying the insightful study investigates the correlation between the increased earnings and productivity of older workers aged 60 and 74 compared with the younger ones aged 25 to 59. And if you would look into the last sentence of the third paragraph, no, I mentioned here, this work is valuable in setting the stage for a deeper dive into the multiple implications of older generations' longevity and longer working years on human resource management. So I am trying to pinpoint why is this even related or useful, okay, as part of a probable academic paper. Okay. And here's another sample before we end from Wilcox et al. In 2008, Secrets of Healthy Aging and Longevity. So as you can see, I have presented two related articles, and this is because I took them from obviously a paper that centers on geriatrics, okay? Geriatrics and human resource management. Okay. The phenomenon of people living up to 100 or beyond has caught the attention of many researchers over the last decades. However, it has been encouraged by authors to examine several articles in the Journal of Gerontology, observing that proving the actual ages of these centenarians is next to impossible, lacking valid birth certificates or even acceptable proxies. And then at the last paragraph, no, here was my reflection. The authors identified three critical factors to pave the way: no, standardization of metrics for aging related traits, the development of multi-ethnic ethnic groups, and the ability to validate findings and new investigative methods of healthy aging across the lifespan. Now, I also included the conclusion that meeting an absolute translatable work on healthy aging with an exceptional survivor could be the typical senior citizen of tomorrow. Okay? And well, that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of my presentation. I hope you learned a thing or two from me today. Thank you. And again, before I actually end the entire presentation, no, let me just again encourage everyone, no, to, if you are teaching research now, or if you will be teaching research in the near future, please do encourage your students to first and foremost write annotated bibliographies. Okay, that will be all. Thank you very much. Oh, great. Thank you, Dr. Mercado. Thank you for the comment.
Thank you, sir. It has been very informative for us and also for our participants. Sir, it's time for our quiz session. After completing the quiz session, we come back again our question answer session. So you have to wait for a few minutes.
Sure, no problem. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Dear participant, to join our quiz session, you have to go www.slido.com and the code is IGP2. We will start our quiz competition after a short video. So let's enjoy our quiz competition. Thank you, thank you. Dear participant, to join our quiz competition, you have to go www.slido.com and the code is IGP3. We will pick your name from Slido, so join with your full name, which will be directly printed on certificate. Top 10 will be awarded with quiz competition certificate. Already 36 people joined with us. We will start our quiz competition after 1 minute. So please don't forget to mention your friend to join our quiz competition. To join our quiz competition, you have to go www.slido.com and the code is IGP2. And the code is IGP2. Okay, let's start our quiz competition. Our first question is the purpose of writing an annotated biography is to review the current research on a specific topic. Option 2 to publish a research paper. Option 1 to review the current research on a specific topic. Option 2 to publish a research paper. Option 1 to review the current research on a specific topic is the right answer and 79% people are right here. In the leaderboard, we can see that iGirl is holding the first position. Our second question is, an annotated biography is different than a bibliography because option 1, it has more entries. Option 2, it tells the usefulness of each resource. It has more entries. Option 2, it tells the usefulness of each resource. It tells the usefulness of each resource is the right answer and 94% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Ricky is holding the first position. Our third question is the annotated biography is used to option 1, take better notes, option 2, summarize, evaluate, and reflect on a source. Option 1, take better notes, option 2, summarize, evaluate, and reflect on a source. Option 2, summarize, evaluate, and reflect on a source is the right answer, and 100% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Kividian is holding the first position after completing our third question. Our next question is, when will you submit your annotated biography? Option 1, week 4. Option 2, week 3. Option 1, week 4. Option 2, week 3. Option 2, week 3 is the right answer and 30% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Dennis is holding the first position. Our fifth question is, what is an annotated biography? Option 1, a list of all sources used with summaries, assessment, and reflection. Option 2, a list of sources at the rate and the end of an essay. Option 1, a list of all sources used with summaries, assessment, and reflection is the right answer, and 98% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Q Divana is holding the first position. The sixth question is, what is the purpose of annotated biography? Option 1, to make your paper look nicer. Option 2, to provide further information for those interested. Option 1, to make your paper look nicer. Option 2, to provide further information for those interested. Option 2, to provide further information for those interested is the right answer and 95% people are right here. The leaderboard, Kidwana is holding the first position after complete our sixth question. Our seventh question is, why is an annotated biography helpful? Option 1, it can remind you why you selected a specific source. Option 2, it can help you remember how to spell something. Option 1, it will remind you why you selected a specific source is the right answer and 95% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Kidivana is holding the first position. Our eighth question is, what information cannot be in your annotated paragraph if writing an annotated biography? Option 1, summary of the material. Option 2, your option of the author. Option 2, your option of the author is the right answer and 79% people is right here. In the leaderboard, Kefarer is holding the first position. Our ninth question is, how many sources should be on your annotated biography? Option 1, 4 minimum. Option 2, 1 minimum. How many sources should be on your annotated biography? Option 1, 4 minimum. Option 2, 1 minimum. Option 1, 4 minimum is the right answer and 90% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Kefar is holding the first position. Our last question is, a bibliography is a list of source used in your paper. Option 2, list of source read while writing your paper. List of source used in your paper. Option 2, list of sources read while writing your paper. Option 2, list of sources read while you writing your paper is the right answer and 48% people are right here. Congratulations, top 10 today quiz competition winner. We have all of your name which you entered during joining. We will pick and prepare a certificate and will post them into our official Facebook page and group. Our official Facebook page is Institute of Global Professional. Dear participant, after a short video, we will start our question answer session. If you have any question, please ask in our comment box and please mention our speaker name. Let's enjoy our question answer session. বাবু অলরেডি 4টা প্রশ্ন চলে আসছে। উনি ব্রিফলি বলছেছে যে এই জন্য। ও আচ্ছা আচ্ছা সরি, তার মধ্যে একটা হচ্ছে হাউ ক্যান আই ক্লেম মাই সার্টিফিকেট গেল, এরপরে দুইটাই সেম। সার্টিফিকেট দেওয়ার সময় মানে কখন? ওয়েবিনার কোড। আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে। আমি আমার কাছে নিয়ে এসেছি। Go to www.edurgp, click আচ্ছা, এটা তো আমি যখন ওয়েবিনার কোড দিব তারপর বলবো, তাই না? কোডের সময় ফার্স্টে কোড বলে তারপর আবার হাউ টু ক্লেম ইওর সার্টিফিকেট বা ফির হ্যাভ টু গো www.edurgp। আচ্ছা, এখানে যা প্রশ্ন আসছে সবাই তো লিখছে যে ক্লেম ইওর সার্টিফিকেট নিয়ে। Dear participant, ask your question in please ask your question in our comment box. Our speaker sir is here to reply them. Hello sir.
Hello.
Hello sir.
Hi, I'm back.
Thank you so
Yes. Will
much
there
sir.
be any questions?
Yes sir. First question is from Flami. What should an annotated bibliography contain? What are important things to annotate?
What should I contain? What are the important things to annotate? All right. As I have pointed out in my discussion, number one, of course, you would need to establish the credibility of the author and the source, and then you try to figure out uh, the particular uh, important points in the content of the source, which are of definite use to whatever it is that you are to write about. So, if you are to get a source, no, or a reference material, you would have to highlight particularly which ones should be included in your discussion of the annotated bibliography. Okay, after your discussion, no, so that's included in the summary. After that, again, uh, you present your reflection of uh, how important or how pertinent would that source be, all right, in your soon to be academic paper or soon to be research material or paper.
Thank you sir. Thank you so much for your answer.
All right.
Our next question is from Lanjosa. Hello sir. Does the bibliography begin with a research question?
Does the bibliography begin with a research question? Well, I really do not think so. No. If we are talking about the annotated bibliography, it almost always would have to begin with you establishing the author. So it really does not begin with a question. Okay, so we have to be very clear that what we are talking about here would be an annotated bibliography, meaning to say it is a collection of sources that were annotated, no, prior to it being included in the list of sources that we would be utilizing as part of our academic paper or, again, as part of our research work.
Thank you sir for your answer.
Okay.
Our next question is from Jordan Ray. Good day sir. What are the main purpose of an annotated bibliography as part of the research process?
All right. This is a very, to me, the most important question for today. As I have made mention earlier on when I first began my discussion, no, uh, the annotated bibliography is your springboard to discovering, number one, your actual research topic. Number two, the research gap that you should be able to identify. Number three, the research questions that you would have to include in your statement of the problem. Okay? So, without you uh, going into the nitty gritty of the annotated bibliography, no, you will find yourself, well, unfortunately, in a troubled state, no, when you are already defending your paper, because when you are now asked by the panel, no, of researchers as to say, for example, what research gap is your paper actually filling out in the tons of research works that would be available, no, you would not be able to respond to that promptly and appropriately, simply because you missed out an activity, which is, again, annotated bibliography. Okay, I think that would be uh, it's like the annotated bibliography is your uh, preparatory phase to doing or to plunging into the research process. Okay, It will allow you, it will enlighten you as to what particular topics, subtopics, problems, and subproblems you would need to include in your academic paper or your research work.
Thank you so much, sir, for your answer. Our next question is from Len Jesse. Another question, sir, if I may. How do you analyze a annotated bibliography?
How do we actually analyze an annotated bibliography? Okay, that's a very good question. Number one, of course, when we analyze, we would need to determine the special features included in the in the source that we are doing an annotated bibliography about. Okay, so know the special features first. Try to get to know what details are actually unique and helpful, because eventually it would be leading into your objectives and into your research methods. All right, then if you are analyzing, a part of it would be identifying, the defects of that, or the weaknesses, of that particular source. Is it leaning towards a particular theory, or is it heavily leaning towards uh, the respondents, for example, or to the experiences of the respondents? If it's a phenomenological study, for example, you need to know the points of defect, the points of weaknesses, and, no, of similar importance, the fallacies and the limitations of that particular source. All right, because these, again, no, these limitations, these fallacies would tend to lead you into unearthing or discovering, the gap that you as a writer would want to fill in, no, would want your paper, your research paper, to fill in, okay, or to address. All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next question is from this is Alvarez. What is the main object of annotated bibliography in research?
All right. Again, no. Let's be clear that the very objective of doing or performing annotated bibliography is to be able to have, all right, to have access to sources that are related, that are useful, no, that are relevant to the topic that you would need to discuss in your academic paper or in your research paper. Without this, no, if you would, unfortunately, particularly in the Philippines, no, since related literature comes in the second chapter, no, it tends to be neglected, unfortunately. So this time we put emphasis, we put the spotlight, we give the spotlight to the RRL by performing a jump start, which is, of course, the annotated bibliography. Okay, this is your starting point. No? That is why you would need this. That is why you would want to first and foremost perform annotated bibliography. This will be your starting point of everything uh, that would have to do with research work. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir, for your answer. Our next question is from um, what is the use of bibliography against to our research?
Are we pertaining here to the annotated bibliography? Because if it is, no, again, as I have pointed out, this would be your starting point. You could not do research without prior knowledge. You could not do research just because you felt like I would want to do this research topic because it's the trend. No, it should not be the case. You should be backed up with sources. your topic, no, your chosen research topic should always be backed up with appropriate, useful, relevant topics and sources. Okay. That being said, you would want to first dip your hands into performing annotated bibliographies before proceeding to actually writing your research work. Okay?
Thank you so much, sir, for your answer.
You're welcome.
Sir, I think there is no more question. On behalf of
All right.
IGP, thank you so much, sir. It has been very wonderful session. I hope everyone learned from your presentation.
All right. And again, thank you very much to IGP for believing in me, for allowing me to be one of the chosen few international speakers for your webinars. And I hope to still work with you in the future. No?
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you too.
Now it's time to give you your webinar code. Our today topic is writing annotated bibliography and the code is IGP8363 and the code is IGP8363. Without code, no one is eligible for certificates. With code, you can claim your certificates anytime. How to claim your certificate? Go to www.eduigp.com, click sign in or log in. If you have any account, you can log in there or create a new account if you are new. Once logged in, click free webinar, select the webinar's title and click continue course. Get enrolled. If you haven't enrolled yet, type the code in your certificate code box. Click get certificate. It is auto downloaded in PDF file already. Just check it in your file manager or download folder. Thank you so much everyone for your active participants. I hope everyone learned from our webinar. See you again in our next session. Till that, stay happy. Once again, I am Bathandas from Bangladesh.